it's Missy, and today I'm going to show you how I make applesauce in my auto canner. First thing that I do is I core and chop the apples, and I put them in my slow cooker so that way I can have them soften. I do this right away in the morning so that way I can can the applesauce in the afternoon. In the slow cooker I put it on low, and it generally takes 4 to 6 hours to get the apples soft. I also use Fruit Fresh, and I just sprinkle that on. According to the container, it's like 1 teaspoon per cup of produce, and a cup of produce is about 1 apple. So I just keep sprinkling that on as I add the apples into the slow cooker to try to help prevent some of the browning. It still will get brown on me, but it's a really quick and easy way to start off with getting the apples ready for the applesauce. Once the apples are softened, like mine are, you can tell by just poking them with a fork or a butter knife, and it should go through smooth. And I was able to get these apples softened in about 2 hours, I believe, 2 to 3 hours. It went faster than I thought. I'm just loading them into my hopper of my food mill that I have set up. This is the Roma food mill, and I have on there the screen that's for apples, tomatoes. And so I'm just loading up the hopper and then slowly turning the crank to bring through the apples. And as you can see, there's quite a bit left on the peels, and I always run through the waste bucket. I run it through again before I compost that, just to make sure that I have all the puree that I can get from my apples. And this works out really well if you're doing a lot of them, because it peels them for you, so you don't have to worry about that. And I actually kind of like the little pinkish color that you get in your applesauce from leaving the peels on. If you don't want that, you can always peel your apples before you soften them and then just run them through. But you have to core your apples if you're going to put them through a food mill, because it cannot handle the apple seeds. And what I'm looking to get is a nice, consistent, smooth consistency in my applesauce. You can see it's on the runny side, but we will be cooking this down just a little bit on the stove before we can it. So that's about what the sauce looks like. In the meantime, I have 4 pint jars that I put in my auto canner. Just going to shut and lock the lid, and I'm going to select preheat and start. In 12 minutes my jars will be ready. I also have my lids heating separately on the stove. I have now my applesauce on the stove, and I'm adding 2 tablespoons of bottled lemon juice. And this would also be the time you could add granulated sugar to taste. You can add up to 1.5 cups of that. I'm choosing to leave mine plain. Once you've got the applesauce up to a boil, it is ready to be canned. So I am just taking one of the jars out of the canner, put the funnel on it, and I'm going to ladle in the applesauce. And I am going to ladle in enough applesauce that I have a half-inch headspace. And as you can see, that it looks a little bit on the brown side. If you want it perfectly white, you can use Granny Smith apples. I'm using more of a sweeter apple in the sauce, and the sweeter the apple, the quicker they turn brown on me. So I'm trying to work fast enough though to make sure that everything remains hot, because you want to have a hot product in a hot jar and goes into a hot canner. So I just checked my half-inch headspace, and now I need to just top it off just to make sure that I have enough in there. Then once you have that done, you want to take a wooden skewer or some kind of, you can use the other side of that measure too, and just make sure that all the air bubbles are out of the sauce. And then you take a damp rag and make sure it's clean and wipe the rim so we have a good seal. And then we put the lid centered over top of the jar, and then you could take your rim and you just screw it on until it's fingertip tight, and then it's ready to go on the canner. And then I repeat the same thing with the other 3 jars. Once all the jars have been filled, I put them in my canner. I'm selecting fruits and recipe number 2, and that will take about 40 minutes and you'll have a nice batch of applesauce. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye.